Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the TV and Film Review podcast. I'm your host today, David McGregor. It's a bit of a different host. We normally have Stuart Scott in, who's not here this week, so I'm taking over the hosting duties. We also have a fresh group of budding TV writers with us, so I'm going to introduce them. First off, we have, he's a bit of a superhero guru. He likes his comic books and he loves his wrestling, so don't pile drive him. Hit him up on Twitter at Forehead7. It's Stuart Ross.
Hello.
How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
It was pretty good, I thought. It was pretty good. We also have, start spreading the news, all the way from New York, New York. It's not Frank Sinatra. You can hit her up on Twitter. It's at Molly Rocket. It's Molly Freeman. Hello.
Hi, guys.
And last but not least, we have a special guest with us. He used to write for our site until he got bored and ditched us. We love him. So he's back with us. He's our Braun to our Tyrion. Hit him up on Twitter. Follow him. He's at RobbieCool89. It's Robbie Cool.
How you doing, guys? Good to be back.
Good. Thank you for joining us. You haven't missed us too much, have you?
A little bit, to be fair. You always miss it once it's gone.
Good. So episode 3, we've got a few things to run through today. We're going to be talking a bit about what we've watched this week in TV and film. I'm going to be hitting on some of the pilot season and talking about some of the upcoming shows that we're going to be seeing over the next year, possibly. Stuart's here to talk about what's coming up this year in superhero land, in comic book world. And we're also going to be touching on TV and film adaptations at the end. So, without further ado, who wants to start off telling us about what they've watched this week in TV and film? Let's go to Stuart.
Alright, well, my TV schedule has been kind of interrupted this week. I don't know, is it the Winter Olympics? Is that causing shows to not be on?
It's the Olympics.
Right, and also a couple finished, like American Horror Story finished last week, so that wasn't obviously on this week. Community and wasn't on, and The Mentalist. I don't know what's going on with The Mentalist. They came back this year and they've had like 2 episodes at the start of January, and then it's not been on, and then it's going to be on in March, but I don't know what's going on with that. But this week I've had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. came back again for a week, and then it's away for like 2 weeks or something.
Really?
Yeah, it's a bit of a crazy schedule, and I mean this must drive you mad, Molly, being based in the US. Just shows getting cut all over the place.
Yeah, one of my best friends actually will text me to ask when her favorite shows are on, because I'm usually the only person that knows.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that really happens here much in the UK. Certainly not to the extent. I think that's one of the reasons shows initially took such a huge break. You know, we would often be, months and months behind for shows so that they could gather up all the episodes in a winner and just run them all.
Yeah, well, I would prefer that, but yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. I don't think, actually, I think it takes quite a lot to stop the TV schedules here. I think they stop once a year for the tennis, Wimbledon. Am I right in thinking some of the shows? I know some of the soap operas, things like that, stop. Big sporting events, but not a lot. Sorry, Stuart, I've interrupted there.
No, that's all right.
What else have you been watching?
I think the only other thing would be How I Met Your Mother, which I'm kind of enjoying it. It's got less funny for this season than maybe the last season, but they're pushing towards the end, so I can understand that, and it's definitely coming to a conclusion.
Yeah, I think I'm watching it as sheer force of will right now, just because it's that close to the end. I think I've came so far now, I may as well just see how it finishes, and that'd be that.
I think that's everyone's mentality. We don't really care too much anymore. We just want to finish it.
Yeah, just get over and done with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not up to date with it yet. I've only watched the first couple of episodes of the final season. How's the mother character getting along?
Yeah, she's.
No, you go, sure.
Oh, she's been in it a few times. I like her, but we've not really seen like too much of her. She's just kind of coming in and out of the wedding like scenarios at the moment.
Yeah.
And just kind of fitting in, interacting with people and whatnot.
Yeah, I think Robin's the only person she's not actually directly interacted with, other than obviously Ted. They had like a whole episode dedicated towards her, like How Your Mother Met Me, which, to be fair, was quite a good episode.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
It felt like they could have used her so much more than just the one episode. because it just felt like they were just cramming it all into it. It was really urgent and.
Yeah, I think it would have been better if they had done like half of the season focused on the mother.
Definitely.
Yeah. Have you watched any films this week, Stuart?
I don't think. Oh, I watched Caught Lone Survivor at the start of the week, which you could read the review on. It wasn't great. I just didn't really like it. It's too patriotic and like pro-American. And I don't mean offence at this to Molly, but it's
No, it's okay.
It's really, as somebody that isn't directed at, it was quite difficult to watch at times.
See, I disagree. I watched Lone Survivor. I thought it was great. It was one of my favourite films of the year so far. Well, 2013. And
What? Okay. I find that difficult, but each to their own, I suppose.
Do you know, I for whatever reason, I just really enjoyed it. I thought there was some brutal scenes in there. I was captivated for the whole thing. I just was fully engrossed, especially from the moment when they, we don't get any spoilers here, but from the moment they get sort of caught, and they start getting surrounded, so you're 20 minutes into the film. From then on, I thought it was great. I thought it was a great watch. And I've seen very mixed reviews on it. I've seen some people saying that they absolutely love it, and like yourself, some people who just don't get it. I don't know what kind of reception it's been getting over in the States, though.
It seems to have scored a 7.9 on IMDb, which seems to indicate that's usually quite a good score in that terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the IMDb score and I was horrified. Because some of the films that it's pretty close to, and I'm like, ooh, okay, maybe we'll take that with a pinch of salt from now on.
Yeah.
But I think the action was alright. I'm not a huge action fan, so it's not my genre. And also with war films as well, I'm not a huge fan of war films. But it just felt quite samey to me. There's a lot, like it's just like shooting, and there's nothing really new about it, which is what I like to see in films. So like as I said in the review, like Zero Dark 30, I really enjoyed that because it shows a different side. It's not all the Americans versus the Taliban. It's not pure good versus pure evil. The Americans are torturing the prisoners of war and whatnot, and it just shows a different side to the dynamic, which I like to see in films.
You put that very nicely.
Thanks.
Okay, is that what you've been watching this week?
Yeah, that's all. That's all for me this week.
Molly, do you want to take us through what you've been watching?
Sure. I've been watching the US version of Shameless. I don't know if you guys have checked out either the UK or the US version of that.
I've never seen it personally.
No, me neither.
Can't say
Okay,
I've watched either.
I love it. I also watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week. I was not impressed by it, though. I mean, the show overall has kind of been eh. It's not as good.
I very much felt the same way. I was really buzzing for it, and and I think as a procedural sort of case of the week show, it does an okay job. I would like it to sort of tie in with the overall Avengers theme a bit more. I know they did one episode which was the aftermath of Thor, the second Thor film, which I quite liked, but yeah, I find it very meh. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. What else? Helix is one of my new favorite shows, the sci-fi outbreak type show. Have any of you started watching that? Because you should.
Well, yeah, I've got a bone to pick with you about that, Molly.
What?
I read your review on the website. I was so pumped for it. I thought, oh wow, really great review. I'm gonna have to check this out. Watched it, and I got bored by the second episode.
Okay, fair. It's pretty slow for like the first 3 episodes, but I think they're on episode 5 or 6 now, and it's picked up a lot.
Sell it to us again.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, in the first 3 episodes, it's mostly like no one really knows what's going on. There's a lot of lying going on, but towards the 3rd or the 4th episode is when like people start really getting violent, I guess. Like the virus is getting insane, and everyone's just, I don't know, it gets a lot crazier. I love it. It's definitely one of my favorite shows of 2014.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I mean, sci-fi is not my genre really, so I never expected to overly love it. I'll maybe check it out again. I assume it's pretty much a dead cert for a second season.
I'm not entirely sure. I don't think they've been greenlit for a second season yet, but I'm hoping they do.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
And then I also have been watching Black Sails, which the new Starz series about pirates.
That's right. What did you think? I watched the pilot episode and quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, the third episode aired last night here, and it was fantastic. It's getting better and better, and that one definitely already has a second season, so I think it's going to get a lot better.
We were doing pirate impressions last week on the podcast. Can you do us a pirate impression, Molly? Give us your best.
No, absolutely not.
But,
I generally hate pirates, so I'm actually really surprised that I like Black Sails.
yeah, I've seen a lot of pirate things recently, and I wasn't even a fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean film, but I thought this was pretty good. It was a lot of fun. Certainly, the first episode that I watched, I liked a lot of the characters, even though I wasn't familiar with a lot of the cast. Not a lot of them had been in things that I'd watched previously, so it was quite refreshing.
Yeah.
Good. Right, I'll go up next then with what I've been watching this week. There's been a number of shows that I've been trying to catch up on. I've started to get quite a bit behind. Banshee was one of them on Cinemax, which I've really been enjoying season 2, even more so than season 1. I just think it's a really enjoyable, refreshing watch. You don't have to think too much about it, and I really enjoy the characters. I know, Robbie, you watched season 1, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm up to date as well. Like you said, I totally agree. You just get to switch off to it. It's everything I enjoy in a TV show. Just switched off mindless violence sometimes, but even then they've brought the Indians and the Amish kind of a bit of tension between each other as well, which has kind of added another dimension rather than
That's
just
right.
over the rabbit.
That's right. They have a lot of evil characters in the show. You know, a lot of bad characters. I suppose even the lead, all the police force is corrupt as well. You know,
Yeah,
they're always
quite
sort of going up
anti-hero.
against. Yeah, they have all these evil sort of groups of people who are always going against each other, which I think is quite good. It always creates a bit of good drama. That.
Definitely.
Apart from my regular sitcoms I've been catching up on, which some of them were on this week. Trophy Wife was on. There was a new episode of The Goldbergs and Mom. They were all fine, nothing noteworthy there. Rain, I know this is one of your shows, Molly.
Yep.
I've been catching up on this, and I'm I think episode 6 or 7, and I will start off by saying this for anyone who's not seen it. It's on the CW in the States. It's about Mary Queen of Scots. It stars Adelaide Kane, bunch of other people. Mm-hmm. It's been doing okay, I think, in the ratings. Liam was telling us last week that it's going to be between that and the Tomorrow People. It looks likely for the renewal. However, I just want to start off and say that I do enjoy the show. It's quite fun, and if you just sort of sit back and take it as it is, I think it's a good watch. Yeah. I think if you try to analyse it a bit too much or go to reality, remembering, obviously we've got three Scotsmen here. Yeah. I touched on it last week. Some of the accents are very confusing as a Scotsman and trying to work out who's who initially. But do you know what? I think it's quite a fun watch, and you're obviously a massive fan.
Yeah. I can't even explain how much I love this show. I mean, it's definitely not historically accurate, and I don't think that they are really trying to make it historically accurate, because once you get more into the more recent episodes are completely deviating from history. And I think that's one of the most fun parts about it, is that they're just like, we don't give a shit about history. We're just going to do whatever we want.
Yeah, I mean, it's... as you say, once you sort of look past the fact that they're not going to be accurate with it, then I think it's quite a fun watch. I think it's hits the demographic pretty well. Yeah. And do you know what? There's a lot of likable characters in it. I like a lot of the ladies' maids. I like to see what they're getting up to. I mean, there is some ridiculous things in it, I have to say. There's one of the episodes, I think it was one of the earlier ones, 3 or 4, and you guys will like this, right? You have Mary Queen of Scots, and she's playing football. Okay, this is soccer for anyone in the US. Mm-hmm. She balloons the football into the tree. She climbs the tree to get the football, falls out of the tree onto the handsome Prince of Portugal. It's just
happens to be there.
ridiculous.
Just happens to be there.
Yeah, it's some of the stuff is utterly ridiculous. But do you know what? It as Molly was saying, it's pretty fun. It's not been picked up yet in the UK. No one's decided to take a chance on it yet.
Yeah, it's pretty heavily aimed at Americans because, I mean, we weren't taught any of this history in school, at least I wasn't, so I think they sort of bank on that fact.
Yeah. What else have I been watching? The only other things of note that I've been watching this week is, I know that Amazon, you may have seen, released some pilot episodes this week. For those of you not familiar, they did this last year. They showed, I think it was 5 or 6 different pilot episodes free onto their Amazon Prime, I believe it's called. Amazon Prime or Amazon, and it's Love Film over here in the UK. They show 6 pilot episodes and people get to rate them, comment on them, and then whichever ones are received most positively, they take these to full series. And I believe they did that with 2 of their shows last year. This year they've introduced, I think there's 5 of them, 5 new shows, certainly aimed at adults anyway. There's a lot of cartoon and animated stuff for kids, and I've watched 2 of them so far. One of them has been getting panned by the critics pretty heavily, and that is The After. Now, this is a show that I actually pretty enjoyed. I thought it was good. I was amazed. I'd seen all the critical feedback beforehand. We get absolutely slated. But when I watched it, I wanted to watch more. I thought it was good. I'd be quite happy to see it go to series. It's by Chris Carter, his first TV show in about 10 years or something. You know, the guy from the X-Files. And it's about a post-apocalyptic world. I'm assuming it looks as if there's going to be some aliens involved. There's, the cast are fine. It was quite suspenseful, I thought, and I thought it was pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing if they renew that. Possibly not, given the slamming it's received. And the only other one of those pilots that I've caught so far is one called Transparent, which is a half-hour comedy. It almost feels like it's not a sitcom. It almost feels like an indie film, but in a sort of comedy setting for half an hour. And again, it was fine. It seems to be the one that's picking up most of the critical acclaim from all the Amazon pilots so far, but it was fine. And should mention as well, I've also watched one film this week, which was Her, with Joaquin Phoenix and Amy Adams and Scarlett Johansson. Have any of you seen that?
Can't say I have.
I've not seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I don't think it comes out until Friday for us here. It comes out on Valentine's Day. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a really interesting concept, and it's getting a lot of good reviews and whatnot.
Yeah, I think it's very worthy of its award for Best Picture at the Oscars. It's it's a great story more than anything. I mean, yeah, Joaquin Phoenix is great. Amy Adams is fine. I don't think her character really needs to be in it, to be honest. She has a supporting role that I think is a bit needless. But it's more about the story and this love story that you have between Joaquin Phoenix's character and his operating system, and maybe it's just me that this might make me sound a little weird, but it actually, when you're watching it, it's quite frightening about how real something like this could become in the future. And I know I'll chat to you about it later, Stuart, when you go and see it. But I think it's pretty good. Are you picking up the review for that?
No, I'm on Dallas Buyers Club this month, so I don't think.
Another great watch.
I'm not sure.
Great watch.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I'll be probably seeing that tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one.
Good. But that's all I've been watching this week. So Robbie, what have you been watching?
Seeing as though you mentioned the Dallas Buyers Club, I'll mention what Matthew McConaughey's done on TV. True Detective. Have any of you been watching that?
Actually, I caught the pilot of that this week. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, I caught the pilot, and I enjoyed that.
I saw the first 2 episodes. I really enjoyed it. I haven't been able to catch up any further with it, but certainly one I'm going to be watching.
About 3 episodes in, but I have to admit, it's not even so much that I care about what happens in the story. I just really love watching the 2 main characters work off each other. Most of the time, Matthew McConaughey he keeps it really simple, and because of that, it's really effective just watching him go through some big philosophical speech, and just absolutely loving what I've seen in it so far, and looking forward to the rest of it. But even more so, because this is only going to be over 8 episodes as well, they seem to be taking the American Horror Story route, where they just do like something different every season and then move on to tell another story.
That's right. That was one of the things that actually concerned me a little bit. I'm already thinking next season they're not going to have Woody Harrelson or Matthew McConaughey.
Correct, yes. They're going to bring in 2 other actors, and I think the 2 of them were quite happy because they're like good friends apparently outside it, and they getting the chance to work together. I think they just grabbed the chance with both hands. But, most TV shows, they have like a really good start, and in most cases an endless middle. So for this, just get the story told, move on, and tell another interesting one. Also, I've been watching Justified. Don't know if any of you watched that, but this week was an absolutely brilliant episode. Just so much going on, so many sudden deaths been brought out of nowhere. It was just superb. Any of you guys watching that?
No, I haven't seen it. I'm already thinking it's in its final season.
No, it's got one more season next year.
One more. Okay.
Yeah, quite a lot of good TV shows moving out the way next year, I think it is, or this year as well. It's quite painful to see. Justified, Sons of Anarchy, Boardwalk Empire, The Newsroom.
Yeah.
It's just not fair.
I know, there's a lot of them.
In terms of other TV shows, I've still been watching Arrow. Don't know if you guys have been keeping up with that or anything.
I've been keeping up with that.
How are you finding it, Molly?
I love it.
Yeah.
I like it better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it's doing the whole comic book adaptation on TV a lot better.
Definitely, I totally agree. The only problem is, I'd say, is I don't think it's really been as good as it has been since the Flash double episode, in my opinion. It just feels like there's been kind of a couple of fillers been put in of late, and I mean, it's good that we've seen Deathstroke reappear as well into the fold, which is good, but I don't know what's going on the island anymore. It just seems like entirely dragged out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Arrow's one of those shows it's seldom that this happens, but I really regret dropping this from my schedule. I watched season 1 and I enjoyed it, but I thought it was a bit ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah.
But I decided to ditch it, and my girlfriend's been watching it and still watches it every week, so she's right up to date. So I catch her watching it, and then all the time I'm asking her, who's that? What happened there? What happened there? And I'm going to have to get back into it because it looks like it's doing really well.
No, the first half of season 2 has been brilliant. You'll actually like this, Stuart. Katie Lopes with Death Valley, she's actually in it now.
Oh yeah.
She's playing Black Canary in it now.
Oh, nice.
Aye, can't complain to that. I don't know if you saw the Brooklyn Nine-Nine and the New Girl Super Bowl episodes as well. I thought
I didn't catch them.
They were absolutely brilliant in my opinion. It was just Terry Crews seems to be getting more time on the show, and he's just living off it, to be perfectly honest. Just the opening scene where they were playing football against the fire department, it was just him like just destroying people left, right and centre in just best comic fashion you could ask for. And New Girl was quite refreshing to actually still have a good episode, because they've been kind of tailing off this season. They've been like the end of season 2, but all the way run up to it, I thought it was probably at its peak, probably the best comedy on at that time. But since like Nick and Jess have now like been officially in a relationship now, they seem like they're stagnating a little bit, if anything.
Yeah. Spoilers here, by the way, for anyone
Sorry,
listening not in the US. Nick and Jess become a couple, I'm assuming. I'm not up to date with it, but I think everyone saw that coming anyway.
Yeah, I don't even watch it, and I knew that would happen eventually.
Also, I finished off I'm up to date with Parks and Rec now as well, finally. 2 big characters are apparently just left now. I won't reveal who they are for anybody that's not actually up to date, but it's going to be interesting to see where they go from there, to be frank, because they are pretty pivotal characters in fairness, but it might give the other main characters more of a chance to shine. I mean, I think, Molly, you watch Parks and Rec, don't you?
Yeah, I haven't seen the most recent episode, which is the one where the 2 characters leave, but I've been caught up until then. And I'm more worried about season 7 because of Chris Pratt being cast in Jurassic World.
Yeah,
have you heard
definitely.
About
I heard about it.
Because he was absent for the first couple episodes of this season because he was filming Guardians of the Galaxy.
Definitely. And I think he's also the Lego movie apparently getting a sequel in production now as well. I think that's definitely moving forward already.
Yeah, that's right. I saw that today. It's already got a sequel.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Other than that, the TV, I think that's probably the main highlights. Maybe Archer as well, which has changed up quite a bit for season 5. They've now, spoilers, they've moved away from like where they are at the moment to something completely different, and you can see that it's changed things up big time there. I know Stubo was talking about it last week, or the week before I think it was, but for me I
Okay.
thought it was pretty superb, to be fair, for what I've seen of it.
Good.
That's about it for TV wise for me.
Okie doke. Moving on, what we'll do, I'm going to run through the pilot season, which is well underway, which is when all the networks, they've got all these pilots that they want to put to screen. They're all starting their casting. Some of them have already been picked up to series and are just bringing in the rest of the cast. Some of them are just be going to the networks as a pilot episode to see how they perform. Now, there's absolutely loads of these. There's literally, there must be about 200 pilots in the works over all the sort of cable networks, all the different stations.
There just seems like more and more every year, isn't there?
Yeah, every year more and more, and since you've got now Netflix and Amazon, various other companies in production now of these things, there's just so many. So what I've done is had a look through them all. I've cut down into a top 10 list of ones that I'm looking forward to. So I'll run through them, and I will come to you for thoughts on each one, on who I think is best placed to comment. And then I'm going to run through a few of the other ones that I picked out for various other reasons, and you'll see why. So on that note, the 10th show that I'm most looking forward to, so I'll go from 10 to 1, is a show that's coming onto the CW called iZombie. Right. I don't know if you've heard about this yet, right? And I've picked this. There's been no casting. This is the only show that I've picked where there's been no casting so far, and I'm only going from the show's official premise here. And I'm going to read it out to you because I think it's I think it's a bit worrying, but it sounds fun. So you have a medical student who's turned into a zombie. They take a job in the morgue to gain access to brains that they have to eat to maintain their humanity. But with each brain the zombie eats, they inherit the corpse's memories and then use those memories to solve crimes. Stuart, you like zombies, your thoughts please.
Yeah, it just sounds ridiculous. It sounds like kind of like that Warm Bodies film that came out last year,
Yeah.
or maybe the year before, where they ingest brains and take their memories, but they're still kind of sort of human. And I mean, it sounds funny. Like if they made it a comedy, I think it might work.
That's the only thing. It's on the CW, so it's unlikely to be a comedy. It's probably going to be aimed at teens.
If it's serious, then I don't see how that can work.
Yeah.
No thanks.
How are they going to fit in their CW love triangles with this?
Well, very true. Very true. No, I'm not going to have a love triangle in there, are you?
I think they are. They'll force it in.
Yeah.
CW, they'll find a way. They always find a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Number 9 on my list is a show called Open. And this is a show that's coming to you from the USA Network. It's by Ryan Murphy, who's obviously behind Glee. It's the tagline for it. It's kept it pretty simple at the moment. It's basically an exploration of human sexuality and relationships. The cast actually looks pretty good. We've got Scott Speedman in it, who's recently been in Last Resort. He was also in the romance The Vow with Channing Tatum and Rachel McAdams. We have Anna Torv, who's obviously known for Fringe, and Wes Bentley, who was in the Hunger Games. I believe he's been on a number of other things. Michelle Monaghan as well is in it. And yeah, do you know what? I think Ryan Murphy, I think he came up with a good concept with Glee initially. It's not the show I don't think that it used to be. I like what he's done with American Horror Story. I like the cast, so that's there. Robbie, any thoughts on that one?
I really wish I could have some.
Yeah.
That's a complete meta, that.
Yeah, maybe it will be. I mean, obviously we don't know for a lot of these shows until we see full castings and trailers and all that sort of thing. Number 8 on our list comes from Showtime. It's a show called The Affair. Now this has already been picked up to series, so it will be coming later in the year. The show itself, unsurprisingly, is it's an affair that shows its effect on 2 marriages. It doesn't sound anything great in terms of concept. Again, this is one where I really like the cast. We have Dominic West, who's I haven't seen on the TV since he did The Wire. I'm sure he's been in a couple of other things. He was obviously McNulty, the main character there. We've got Ruth Wilson, who's recently been in Luther and the short-lived sitcom Saving Me. Joshua Jackson, also in there as well, Dawson's Creek. But yeah, that's one that I'm looking forward to. The Affair, Molly, any thoughts?
It sounds a lot like Betrayal and Revenge, like those types of shows.
Yeah, which doesn't bode well, I'm afraid.
No.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm going through all these, I mean, it was quite slim pickings. You can only tell so much from the taglines and the castings to date, but there wasn't a great deal that jumped out at me. So the Affair, I like the cast. It's on there. This is a good one. Stuart, I'll come to you on this. Number 7 on my list, 12 Monkeys. They're making I assume you've seen the film?
I haven't, but I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, 12 Monkeys. They're making a TV adaptation. It's coming from Sci-Fi. They've got the cast for it. They've got Aaron Stanford taking the lead role, who Nikita fans will know. He plays Seymour, and he's also an X-Men, I believe, as Pyro. I'm
right,
sure
yeah,
it's the same
I
guy.
know who he is, yeah.
So he's taking the lead role in that. A few other notable names. There's Amanda Schull and Zelchko Ivanek, who's been in everything.
Argo. He's in Argo. I know exactly who you're talking about.
He's one of those guys. I mean, off the top of my head, I know he's been recently in Banshees and the Mob Doctor, as you say, Argo, The Event, The Bourne Thing, Heroes, Revolution. The guy, he's one of those actors where you look up his name and it's that guy. So he's in that, and I'm quite looking forward to this. I enjoyed the film. I'm quite interested to see what they do with the TV adaptation of that. Okay, number 6 on my list is Line of Sight, which is coming from AMC. Now, a lot of my faith in this is partly because I've really enjoyed what AMC have produced over the last few years. I think they've done some really strong shows. They're very picky with what they take on, and I like that. Line of Sight, it stars David Morrissey, who Walking Dead fans will know as the Governor. He's taking the lead role in that. We also have Sarah Clarke, who was Nina Myers in 24, and I believe she was also in the Twilight films. A smaller role, Rennie, I believe. It's basically, we've got David Morrissey, who's a airline safety officer. Wait for it. He survives a mysterious plane crash. Bring him on a quest to discover the accident's cause. That's what we've been told so far. But I like David Morrissey. I like Sarah Clarke. I like AMC. Line of Sight is on my list at number 6. Okay, we're on to the top 5 now, and this is where I think the shows start getting a bit better. I think you can. I think it's easier to separate the wheat from the good here. Number 5 is Sea of Fire. Robbie, I'll come to this one. I think you will enjoy the premise of this show. Okay. Sea of Fire. This is we have 3 teenage girls who star in a porno film.
Sounds like an ideal start to week.
Absolutely. it basically it tears their family apart. There's a disappearance, a murder, a whole host of other secrets. It is coming to you on ABC. It is a drama show. It stars actually. It's got a couple of good casting leads so far. We've got Jennifer Carpenter, who was obviously Deb Morgan in Dexter.
Yeah.
I'm assuming she's not playing one of the teenage girls. I'm not sure she could pass for that anymore. And
so.
Jack Davenport as well. It's one of the leads who was he's been in lots of stuff recently. I think Smash. The director in Smash. Are you interested in seeing that, Robbie? Sea of Fire.
I'll definitely check out the pilot. I mean, it seems a bit weird going on something like ABC. It seems like they're quite good for cutting out more of the extreme stuff that goes on in it. But anything for Jennifer Carpenter, to be honest.
Yeah, I actually thought she had a really strong final couple of seasons on Dexter.
Yeah, definitely. Since season 7, she was just probably one of the main reasons I actually watched it, if not the only.
Yeah, I really hated her in the early seasons of Dexter.
Yeah, I agree. All that whininess just got a little bit tedious.
Yeah. Okay, next one, number 4 on my list, is one again. There's not much casting on this so far. In fact, apologies, there's 0 casting on this, but it is from Vince Gilligan, who's obviously Breaking Bad. This is his next project. It's already been picked up to series. It's going to be on CBS. It's a drama show called Battle Creek. We've got 2 detectives who have different world points of view. You've got one who's the slacker, laid-back type of detective. You've got the other one who takes a job very seriously. They basically, their job is to clean up the streets of Battle Creek, which I believe is a town in Michigan. And it doesn't sound great from the tagline. Molly, any thoughts on that? I'm hoping because Vince Gilligan's doing it in his project, I'm sure it can't be as bad as it sounds, right?
Yeah, I think he'll definitely be able to make it good. And it's one of those premises we've seen a million times before,
yeah.
But so it'll rest on the characters. And I think given what he did with Breaking Bad, it's going to be pretty good, at least pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same. Had the True Detective premise been pitched to me, I wouldn't have been interested at all. But all it took was a good station to pick it up, take some risks, some good casting, and it's a great show. And I have every faith in Vince Gilligan to maybe not repeat the heights of Breaking Bad, but certainly put on a good effort.
Yeah.
So yes, number 4, Battle Creek. Looking forward to that one. Right, on to the top 3 now, and the first one, Stuart, I'll come to you. You're a big fan of The Rock, aren't you?
Yes.
Have you got a Rock impression?
I'm not going to do it.
Go on,
I can't do it. I can't do it justice.
You know the line.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Yeah. Well,
That was
yeah,
Fair play for the
yeah, tumbleweed. Yeah.
I told you.
Thanks for the shot there. Yes, The Rock is coming to HBO, and a new series called Ballers. It's actually a show. He's involved in the production of it with Mark Wahlberg. It's taking a look at the life of athletes. So we've got some active athletes. It's all based in Miami. So we've got some active athletes, some retired, some coaches. The Rock himself is starring in it. We also have Rob Corddry, who's been in a number of things. I think he's recently been in Community and Happy Endings. And Stuart, what do you think of that? Are you happy to see The Rock? It's meant to be a dramedy, by the way. It's not one of those cross things.
Yeah, I think it's a decent. It sounds like a decent fit for him. I'm not exactly sure. I'd need to see what his role exactly is in it. But
I'm assuming
I think,
a football player, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I like The Rock. He's got so much charisma just naturally, and it's a good. He's always funny. I always enjoy his roles, even if the projects aren't as good as I would hope. Like I'll see anything as long as it's not Michael Bay related with The Rock in it. So
did you not once nominate The Rock in your top 10 actors of all time?
No, that wasn't me. I think that was Stu. That was Stu.
Was
I'm
it?
pretty sure that was Stu. Yeah. No, he's not. He's not. He's not in the top 10 actors. Let's not exaggerate. But in terms of entertainment, I'll always give him the benefit of the doubt.
Is he the best ever wrestler that's moved to the screen?
I think it depends. Personally, I prefer Stone Cold Steve Austin's. I think he's extremely underrated at what he does. But The Rock is more diverse and obviously hugely more successful.
Yeah.
But I think that's just because he wants to be more successful in that field rather than more talented. Not necessarily, at least.
Yeah, I think it could be interesting. I think it could be something that could go along the sort of Entourage vibe. That's how I'm kind of seeing it at the moment. So interesting to see what they do with that. So number 3 on the list there, Ballers. Number 2 is a show again that's been picked up by FX straight to series. So this one is definitely happening. Now it's written by Guillermo del Toro. He's obviously done a lot of things. Have you heard of this one? It's called The Strain.
Yeah, I've heard of it. It's actually got quite a good cast about it as well, from what I've seen.
It is, yeah. This is one where Del Toro actually created this story with the idea of pitching it as a TV show. Nobody wanted to take it on, so him and Chuck Hogan actually put it into a set of novels. I believe there's 3, which ended up doing really well and getting a huge fan base. And then since then, they've actually been picked up to FX have picked it up to go to series. We have the concept itself. It sounds fine. I'm sure there's some sort of biological threats to the country. You've got some survivors who create this sort of group that's mankind's only hope against a swarm of vampires. Which is going to basically attack everything. The books are meant to be quite good. I've not read them. Cast so far is we have Corey Stoll, who is known for, he's been in the Bourne Legacy films. He's also was in that the Owen Wilson film Midnight in Paris.
Yeah, another one.
Yeah, John Hurt's going to be in it. We've got Kevin Durand, who's been in loads of stuff. He was in Lost as Martin Keamy.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
he played the Blob in the Wolverine Origins film.
Yeah, that's right. He's also been in recently Fruitvale Station, if anyone's caught that. Mortal Instruments, I Am Number 4. He's been in all sorts. Again, one of those actors that you'll recognise. Another good casting for this one. Mr. Frodo!
Really?
Sean Astin. Samwise Gamgee himself will be starring in this.
Aye, but is Ron Perlman in it? He always seems to cameo in dual Del Toro stuff.
Well, yeah, very good point. No, Ron Perlman hasn't been cast as yet. It wouldn't be surprising, but it's one that I think is interesting. I like Del Toro. I'm kind of put off. I was reading the concept for it and I thought, oh yeah, it looks okay, and then sort of swarm of vampires. It's kind of. But the cast is good. FX will take a few risks. So, anyone else looking forward to that at all?
I'd definitely give it a go. I mean, it does sound a little bit I Am Legend-ish with like more people rather than just being isolated. But yeah, absolutely. For Del Toro being involved more than anything else.
Yeah, it's one that I think will be fine. I think it'll do a decent enough job. It's one, as I say, that's already been picked up the series. So the studios must have seen enough of that to for it to warrant the pickup. The last one, number 1 on my spot of most anticipated new shows, is one called The Money. And The Money comes from HBO. It's from David Milch, who is most notable for writing and directing Deadwood. I don't know if there's any of your Deadwood fans.
I've heard lots of good things about it. It's one of those shows that I've always wanted to try and get around to watching, but I just never seem to have the time.
Yeah. What we know of the story so far is not a lot. It sort of focuses on the wealth and corruption among the super elite. We've got some sort of huge American business mogul who has a lot of power and influence over the city and media. The premise doesn't sound great so far. The cast, I think, is very good so far. We've got Brendan Gleeson, who I always instantly think of him as Hamish in Braveheart.
Yeah,
but
sure.
He's been in loads. Really, I think he's a really underrated actor as well.
I agree.
Yeah, Brendan Gleeson's going to be in it. We have Nathan Lane, who's recently been in The Good Wife, I believe he's known for, and Modern Family. Andrea Risborough, who's been in a couple of films recently. She was in Oblivion last year and The Shadow Dancer.
Yeah, I know that. I was actually watching that yesterday.
Yeah, very good film, Shadow Dancer. I thought she was pretty good as well, so she's going to be in this. We have Patrick Kennedy, who's been in lots of stuff, a lot of British stuff, Atonement, War Horse, that kind of things. We have Robbie. Here's one you'll recognise: Dominique McElliott, who was Lily in Hell on Wheels.
Oh yeah, I know her.
Yeah, she's going to be nice. And we have Ray Liotta's in it as well. Mamie Gummer, who I believe is Meryl Streep's daughter.
Yep.
And she was recently in Emily Owens MD.
Yep.
Did you watch that?
I did. I loved it. I was really mad when it got cancelled.
Were you surprised though?
No.
Yeah. So that's coming to HBO. I really like the cast of that. I like the fact that David Milch is attached, who was very good at creating Deadwood, and that is my top 10 shows that are hopefully coming up. I'm quickly going to run through some other things because, as I say, there's hundreds of these pilot episodes in the works, and I know we'll get some complaints that certain shows haven't been mentioned. So I'm going to run through a few different notes I've got here. I have 10 different things that I want to comment on. One, space. Space is a big in thing this year. I don't know whether it's because of gravity or if space is just cool again. We have a lot
Space
of...
is always cool.
Yeah, space is cool. We've got a lot of new pilot episodes set in space. There's one called Horizon. We have one called the brilliantly called Astronaut Wives Club, which unsurprisingly is focusing on the wives of astronauts and how they cope with their partners being away. We have Extant, which is a astronaut pilot which is starring Halle Berry. She's coming to TV. And we have a Mission Control one. So space in thing this year. Second thing I want to say, Stuart, you will have an opinion on this. DC, I don't know if they're making some sort of huge effort to get involved and stuff, but we've got Constantine. We've got a pilot episode for that coming up. They're trying to push that into a TV series. We have The Flash, which is spinning off from Arrow and getting its own show.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
And with the Flash, they're keeping the same character, I believe, and I believe Felicity, Emily Bett Rickards, is going to be in both. Apparently, she's been touted for appearing in both shows simultaneously. So, and we have Gotham.
I was just going to say, I just found out on a Screen Rant not long ago that Ben McKenzie's been cast as Commissioner as Ben Gordon.
Yeah.
That's right, from the OC.
Yeah, I thought that was. I love him in Southland and obviously the OC. Who can't love him from the OC? But yeah, absolutely chuffed with that. I'm definitely interested in seeing how that goes now.
Yeah. So, DC are making a good push for some things. Number 3 on my list, worst title. We have there's a TV pilot, believe it or not, and it's called How to Get Away with Murder. I just think that sounds awful. It's unsurprisingly, it's a legal drama that looks awful. I'll be amazed if it goes to air. We have possibly the coolest title. There's a pilot coming up called Agent X. However, upon reading the premise for the show, it's about a US female senator. A really sort of boring plot line, but I thought the title was quite cool. It was Agent X. It's Sharon Stone actually stars in it. I thought that was the coolest title. We have worst casting, right? This is a name you won't be familiar with, Molly. Thankfully, in America, the guys here will. I want you to tell me what your opinions are of Jack Whitehall.
I quite like Jack Whitehall. I don't.
No way, really?
I say with trepidation, but I think at times it's from what I've seen of stand up, he was alright, and he was in that. What was that? There was a comedy where it was like students living in a house together.
Fresh Meat. He's actually quite good in that, to be fair.
I quite liked him in that, but he needs to play like that posh university student that everyone hates.
He does only seem to have one kind of typecast role on him, to be fair, I have to say. But
yeah, Jack Whitehall. For those in America, fortunate enough not to have. I think so anyway. He's a stand-up comedian in Britain. He's not a very funny one, I don't think. He has been in some UK series. He's coming to America in a sitcom, An American Education. So look out for that one if it gets picked to air. The most bizarre one. I've put down here the most sort of bizarre sounding pilot episode that's in the works is actually one called Horizon. Okay, now I touched on this in the space one. It is linked to space, but when I read the plot line for this, I just found it absolutely bizarre. I'm just getting to my notes. Okay. We have here, right, this is set during the height of World War II. A secretary of the FBI discovers that her husband might have been killed in battle with a spaceship in the South Pacific. Obsessed with learning the truth, she becomes the only person standing between the Earth and an alien invasion. Yeah.
What are these concepts?
Yeah, World War II, space invasion. And you know, the funny thing is, this isn't even coming. This isn't, you know, an NBC show or a CW show even. This is coming from USA, who are normally pretty good with their, you know, they don't often pick up a lot of crap. I think that might be. Yeah. Spin-offs. Number 7 on my list. Spin-offs are a big thing this year. We have, obviously we touched on it earlier, we've got The Flash. Robbie, you were saying earlier about how much you enjoyed How I Met Your Mother.
Mm-hmm.
How I Met Your Dad is coming.
I heard about that. Please don't do it. Please, for the love of God, don't do it.
Yeah. There's been no castings yet, but that is being pitched. It's on its way. Molly, here's one for you. Supernatural spin-off, The Tribes.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what that's going to be like.
Yeah, are you keeping up with Supernatural?
No, I'm not at all. I gave up.
Well. Yeah, Supernatural spin-off. There's an Oz spin-off. A couple other ones. It seems, you know, more and more this over these last few years. I think we've gained a whole lot of spin-offs. Finally, again, Robbie, this is one for you. Number 8 I've got on my list is the most unoriginal casting of the pilot season. Okay, now last season we had a pilot, and it went to series. It was on NBC. It was called Guys with Kids.
Yeah.
Right.
You remember the review?
Yeah, this was a pretty bad show. Now, Anthony Anderson starred in this show. He was one of the lead guys. And remind us, Robbie, how good the show was and what it was about.
If you imagine putting rusty needles into your eyes, I would still say that was more fun than Guys with Kids.
Yeah, it really was not good. However, Anthony Anderson, who starred in that show, has been cast again in another sitcom, and it's about a guy that struggles to raise his kids, and has to enlist the help of his friends, which is exactly what Guys with Kids was. They've just cast him in almost an identical pilot, so it'll be interesting to see that. I put number 9 on my list is the most sort of trendy. We have a sitcom coming to us called Selfie. And it is absolutely what you think it is. It's about women
beneath me.
Yeah, women who's obsessed with taking selfies and then how it affects her life. Stuart, I know you're prone to a number of selfies.
Yeah, I'm never off. My phone doesn't even have a front camera, so I can't even take selfies and see what they look like.
Yeah.
But no, why?
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say like she takes a selfie and she's on murder in the back of it or something like that. But
No, she loves taking selfies. And,
that'd be a good lesson. Don't take selfies because somebody might be getting killed.
Yeah. The show itself, you know, unimaginably is called Selfie. There's no casting for it yet, but hopefully that one doesn't get taken to series. And finally, the last one on my list, I have as the most misleading title. We have a pilot episode coming to us called Tin Man.
What?
Now, what would you think that would be about?
like Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
and
the
stuff.
Wizard of Oz.
Absolutely, wouldn't you? It's got absolutely nothing to do with the Wizard of Oz. It's a psychological crime thriller set in the near future, focusing on a robot accused of first-degree murder.
What?
Robot.
Why?
There you go. So, Tin Man, possibly coming your way, is not what you think. With that in mind, okay, pilot season, upcoming shows. Some of them are coming to you, some of them gladly won't be. We will move on now to discuss.
I just wanted to say,
Yeah, go
before
for it.
you went for it, you know, like American Gods was like stopped by HBO. Apparently,
Yes,
got
very
re-picked up, and it's been picked up by something called Fremantle Media.
That's right.
It's definitely coming. It's definitely getting back on it now. So quite encouraged by that.
Yeah, really excited by that one. It's I've only read the first book. Only read the first half of the book, and it was really enjoying it so far. I think it's going to be a really great thing. I was disappointed HBO dropped it,
Yeah, same.
They were planning on spending lots of money on
Aye,
it.
it was like about 40 million a year they were planning on doing it, apparently,
Yeah.
or something like that.
I'm not sure it was 40 million a year. That's
That's just what I read, to be honest.
A bit crazy. But yeah, it's been picked up by a production company, Fremantle, which, to be honest, I mean, most of the shows they carry, they're the ones who are behind American Idol, X Factor, Neighbours, Home and Away, a whole bunch of, sort of middle of the road soap operas and reality shows. They're the ones that are going to be funding it, and I believe they're looking for a network to take it on. So I'm sure they'll find that. Okay, Stuart, do you want to take us through what's coming up this year in terms of superheroes and comic book stuff?
Alright, well, I thought we'd start with, it's not been touched on, like we touched on it last week with the casting of like Lex Luthor and Alfred, but it's also been kind of assumed that The Rock is going to appear in it, because he tweeted about him being Green Lantern.
Do you know what would be really cool here if you did a Rock impression?
No. That would be totally original and whatnot, but I think I'm not sure, because it reminded me of when Vin Diesel was tweeting, and about him being, like, he was tweeting loads of Vision stuff, and then it turns out that he's going to do the voice of Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm not sure if The Rock's just doing it. I mean, he could just be doing it just to kind of annoy people and whatnot, or maybe he has been told to try and do it to drum up interest. But it's kind of weird. I hope.
Yeah. Who could you see him playing?
He would be playing. I think it's Jon Stewart, who is like a Green Lantern that isn't Hal Jordan, and he is African American, so that would work for The Rock. But I'm not sure. I heard a while back that he was supposed to be playing Lobo, who's like I think he's like a kind of bounty hunter in the DC universe. I'm not too familiar with him, but I think it'd be good enough. I don't want to see him in Batman Superman, because this film is big enough and clustered enough, I'll say, to put it nicely.
Are DC struggling, Stuart?
I think they are. I think they are so desperate to try and get to where Marvel are. Like, you can really taste the desperation.
Do you think they're trying to get there too fast?
Definitely, they are. They are absolutely trying to rush ahead. And where Marvel had, I think they would have had 5 films before the Avengers took place. DC are trying to get there in like 2 or 3, and it's too close to be. I think the Dark Knight trilogy, as successful and great as they was, it's not helping them, because it's too recent to really do a whole reboot of Batman.
It's a big shadow that's casting over it as well, to be fair.
Yeah, and just the way it ended as well, you can't continue it, I don't think.
Definitely.
Like, you couldn't take Christian Bale, put him in this like new franchise with this Superman and stuff, and I think they're just rushing it too much and introducing too many characters at once, and not even in the way that Marvel have done it, where they'll have them turn up at the end. Like, that's what I would do. I would have had Luthor turn up in Man of Steel, and then you have Wonder Woman maybe turn up at the end of Batman Superman, and just kind of extend it a little bit, just to introduce the characters a wee bit more and give them a bit of a backstory.
We had a bit of a debate last week on the Jesse Eisenberg casting as Lex Luthor. I think I know your thoughts on this already, but can we just do a quick round table to everyone else's thoughts? I just to recap last week on the podcast, I thought it was an awful casting, which Liam agreed with, and Stu thought could be quite a clever casting.
I think it could work. I think it's difficult because he looks so young. Like, I was so surprised that he's 30 years old, as the same as Henry Cavill is.
Wow.
But he looks really good for his age. I'll say that right now. I thought he was early 20s, maybe mid 20s at a push. But I think it could work. It's a tough one because he is quite young, and Superman, I think he's traditionally quite like the same age as Batman, so there's definitely a weird kind of difference there. But I think if he was, I'm struggling to think. I think it could work, like, because you're you see him in Now You See Me, and he plays that kind of arrogant well, but he's not really. I'm struggling to kind of put it into words.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think-
maybe Robbie can.
Anytime I've actually ever seen him, and I always think he's always carried himself pretty well. And although it's just like the fact that he's too young, I think that's pretty much the only thing that's actually holding it back for that casting ideal. I mean, even like I think he's touched on saying like how he played Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network. I thought he was really good in that as well, and I think the combination of the two put together, I actually think I'd give him the credit to say that he could pull it off, just to start the conversation a bit.
Yeah, possibly. Any thoughts on that, Molly?
I agree with you guys. I definitely think that he could pull it off, but I think people are getting hung up a little bit too much on the roles that he's already played. You know, I mean, other than The Social Network and Now You See Me, he's sort of played those awkward, very sort of Michael Cera roles. And I think if he draws on the same type of character from The Social Network and Now You See Me, I think he could be a really great Lex Luthor.
There we go. Sorry, Stuart, back to you.
Yeah, well, just I was going to mention that Ben McKenzie has been cast as Commissioner Gordon, but I see we've already mentioned that, and I think it could work. I think I've not seen a lot of Southland, but
Southland's
from
brilliant.
what I have seen,
Absolutely brilliant.
yeah, I've wanted to. It's just another one of those shows that I've just not had the time for. And the OC's I don't really know if it's a guilty pleasure anymore, because I hear loads of people say that, but I've definitely seen a lot of that over the years, and it's.
Speaking of the OC, what's Misha Barton doing these days? Have you seen her in anything?
No.
She turned up in How I Met Your Mother a couple of times, and then this season as well, like a flashback kind of thing.
No,
but
you're thinking.
apart from
You're thinking of the other lassie. You're thinking.
also I'm Rachel
Rachel
Bilson.
Bilson.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, sorry. Oh, I've not seen Misha Barton in anything since the OC. I don't think. All right. Well, as for the films, I think I will start with like Amazing Spider-Man 2, which comes out. I assume in the summer. It would be the summer film. I'm looking forward to that. I think there's a lot they're trying to cram in, and with the plans for them to make a Sinister Six film after, and then I heard a Venom film as well, or it would be Agent Venom. I think it's interesting. I'm hopeful for it because the first one I really enjoyed the first one, and I think Spider-Man is the character where you can bring in a lot of villains because he's always used to fighting multiple villains at the same time. And although it didn't really work for the third Spider-Man film of the previous trilogy, but I think it'll work. There's a lot of good casting, and Electro looks really good, and the Rhino as well. And then they're sort of teasing people in the trailers and maybe behind the scenes and stuff. I think I'm hopeful for that. It should be quite good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I enjoyed the first Spider-Man film. I certainly enjoyed it more than the original Tobey Maguire ones. You know, although I'm comparing a trilogy there with one film.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more hopeful for the new ones.
And then moving on, they've got Captain America will be coming out. I think that's late in the year.
No, I think it's May. Well, in the US, I think it's May.
Oh yeah, it probably will be. We usually get them at around about the same time. It's like usually a couple of weeks before actually, which I find interesting with the comic book films. But
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting one. I'm not a huge fan of Captain America, but the first one was quite good. I liked the Red Skull and Hugo Weaving, and I think this one's it could be all right. The Winter Soldier's it's an interesting character, and I like what I've seen from the trailers so far.
I'm really excited for it.
Is that the trailer with the captain in the lift? He's in the
Yeah, that's
elevator
that
with all
one.
the guys and kicks ass.
Did you see the full scene? I saw that when I went to
Yeah.
see one of the films last year at Cineworld. They showed like that full scene, which was quite cool. Yeah, I think it'll tie in well. I think the Captain America story after the war is it can be quite interesting with him trying to adjust to the modern life, and there's potential for quite a lot of comedy with him like finding like a mobile phone and being like, oh, what's this, and trying to work new technology.
They used that quite well
Up
in
to
the
60 years.
They used that quite well in the Avengers movie, I have to say, just with stuff that he didn't understand. I think there was like a reference
Mhm.
and it was like, I got that. Sorry.
How old is the captain meant to be? So now that he's in present day, if you will, does he now age as normal?
He does, but he's the super soldier. The super soldier serum keeps him young. That's like how that's how they write it in the comic books. But then nobody really ages in the comic books, so it's kind of difficult. But they would write it that like that. He doesn't. That slows down his aging a lot, and it keeps him like durable basically. So I think he'll just be kind of 30s, 40s, but he obviously was frozen in the ice, so he's not aged since then.
So is this the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is that tying into this at all, do we know?
It's supposed to.
I would assume, yeah, it probably will. I'm not really sure. I don't know whether Coulson's in it, because I don't think he will be, because every time they've mentioned it in the TV show, that it's like nobody really knows that he exists. Like, I don't think the Avengers know that he's still alive.
Yeah.
So I don't think he will turn up, but I would imagine Maria Hill will, who's Kobe Smulders, or Smulders. I think she'll probably have to turn up if it's all about S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff.
That's right. Samuel L. Jackson will no doubt make a turn.
Yeah, he's definitely there, yeah. So I think that's... I've hopes for it, but I'm not too excited just because the character isn't one of my favourites, but it's part of the universe, so obviously I'll be there opening day.
Who are you excited about this summer, Stuart? What other films are you excited about?
X-Men, I'm kind of excited for Days of Future Past. It comes out, I think that's coming out, that's definitely at the end of the year. And it's a tough one. I'm not a huge fan of Bryan Singer, and what he's done with the X-Men universe so far it's kind of good, but it's not what I want to see. But I think this film, it's a wee bit, it's got a lot to do in it. There's a lot of casting, and they're bringing like 2 whole films together, and it could potentially be an absolute car wreck. Like, it really could come together and not work at all. Yeah. But I hopefully it will.
Did you enjoy the last film?
The First Class?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really good. Yeah, it was really good. I think that was Matthew Vaughn. I think that really pushed that one, and he did a good job. But I don't think he's involved in the creative side as much. I think he's probably got an executive producer or a producer role in this one, but he's not directing, and I'm not sure if he's writing it at all. But I think it's an interesting story, and I'm not too happy about them. They've changed it to make like Wolverine the center focus of it, like they have for pretty much the whole franchise. But I think it could work. It's an interesting story, and I think I'm hopeful. Hopefully it'll come together quite nicely.
Yeah, am I right in thinking Peter Dinklage, who plays Tyrion in Game of Thrones, is involved as well?
He definitely is.
Yeah, he's playing Bolivar Trask, who basically creates the Sentinel robots.
Ah, okay.
So he's definitely one that's in there that I'm looking forward to, because I've recently picked up Game of Thrones, and I love him now.
with such a huge cast though, the people aren't going to get a lot of screen time, are they, in this film?
That's one of the things they've cut. They had to cut out Rogue's part, who is Anna. What's her second name?
Paquin.
Anna Paquin. That's it. Yeah, she's been completely cut out of it. Like, she's shorter scenes, but they're just not going to be in the film. So they'll probably end up in like the DVD or the Blu-ray extras or whatnot. But she's been cut from it, so they've already had to make changes just to try and fit them all in, which is, I think it could work on this one because they've already had their introductions, so they don't need to do a lot of storytelling for them. They're not introducing too many new characters to it. They're just kind of bringing them back and tying them together. So it's really all about the storytelling more than the trying to introduce and build up characters, which is why that could work, whereas like Batman Superman might not work as well.
Okay, what else is coming up?
I think that's most of the films for this year.
What about Guardians of the Galaxies this year, right?
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy. That's probably the one I'm...
What about Ant-Man?
That's probably
as well this year?
No, that's 2015.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that'll be next year. But I think Guardians of the Galaxy, I can't believe I forgot that. That's probably the most excited one I've been, because I've just recently got into the comics. They've started being written by one of my favourite writers, who's Brian Michael Bendis, for anyone that's into that sort of stuff, and he started writing some good stories in it, and I've picked that up, and I like the characters now, and I think looking I wasn't really too well placed to comment before, but I think the castings are pretty good now. I've heard one of my friends is a massive fan of it, and he wasn't too happy about some of them, but I think they'll work. I think Chris Pratt's a really good Peter Quill,
Yeah.
and a lot of them like Zoe Saldana. I think she'll be good as I can't remember her name now, but she'll be good as that.
Stuart, just for anyone who's listening, who's not quite sure what Guardians of the Galaxy is about and how it ties into the Marvel universe, can you give us a quick synopsis of what it's going to be about?
They're a group of aliens mostly. Peter Quill's a human, but he's half human and half Star-Lord, which is just like another race kind of thing. And they're just kind of rogues. A lot of them have been like exiled from their places, or they're running from the law or whatever, and they come together and they're just kind of going about the galaxy, just fighting things. Tend to just float from one universe to the other.
And there's a raccoon.
Yeah, well, Bradley Cooper
raccoon,
will voice Rocket Raccoon, who is absolutely hilarious.
He's going to steal the show, isn't he?
I think he might, but I'm not sure how he'll sound. Like I read an interview with Bradley Cooper, and he was talking about how he thinks it will be like a Cockney accent, which I'm not too sure how it'll come across on screen, but on paper he's very funny, and he's usually just coming about. He's just throwing funny lines out and cracking jokes quite a lot, and he has a nice wee catchphrase. When he kills someone, he'll go "blam, murdered," like every time.
Is that what he says?
Yeah,
Wow.
It's funny. Yeah, I really like him, so I think he could work. And as a wrestling fan, I can't not mention Dave Bautista playing Drax the Destroyer, which I'm not too sure about. The only saving grace is that the character doesn't really do very much. He's just kind of muscle, so it might work. But Dave Bautista's a terrible actor, so.
Yeah, I was going to say that from any. I didn't watch wrestling when Batista was in it originally, so I can't comment on how he is. But for any time I've seen him, he does appear to be very sort of bland. Not much to him. But anyway, that actually takes us on quite nicely to. With coming off the comic book stuff that's come to film, Molly's now going to talk us through some TV and film adaptations, and sort of generate some thoughts on that. Is that right?
Yep. So this week in the US, Vampire Academy debuted. I don't know if you guys are getting this soon or not.
I've not heard anything. I would be surprised if we get it soon. Anyway, we tend to be way behind on this sort of stuff.
Okay, well, it's directed by Mark Waters, who directed Mean Girls, and it's, I think it was produced by the guy who did Heathers, the 1990s film with Winona Ryder and Christian Slater. So it's being described as like a vampire movie meets Mean Girls, and I'm personally really excited for it, but I'm also kind of, I can't stand another vampire movie. I don't know if I can watch another vampire movie.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. Do you not think the vampire thing now in TV and film, there's just so much of it. I mean, even when I was, talking through some of those pilots earlier on, there's just, streams and streams of vampire stuff.
Yeah, I've noticed that the vampire stuff isn't doing very well. Like, Vampire Diaries isn't doing as well as the originals is doing. True Blood is on its way out, and NBC's Dracula's not doing very well.
Yeah. Did you watch any of that? I think I watched the first episode, and I think I thought it was really sort of dull. It wasn't my cup of tea at all.
Yeah, I watched the pilot, and now NBC is gonna do a Wolfman show. So I don't know what they're doing right now. But another big release this year is Divergent, which is like a young adult adaptation. Yeah, I read the books way back when they came out, and I'm really excited for that one. It's good. People are touting it as the new Hunger Games.
That's a very big type.
Yeah.
Are the books good?
Yeah, I love the books. The last one came out last summer, I think, or last fall, and it's a bit darker than the Hunger Games, so I don't know how they're gonna adapt it to the screen.
What's it about, Divergent?
It's it's one of those dystopian novels set in the future. It's set in post-apocalyptic Chicago, and it's this sort of self-enclosed society that's split up into 5 different factions, which represent different characteristics in people. So there's like people who always tell the truth, people who are really kind, people who are really smart, people who are really selfless, and then people who are really brave. So the main character, Triss, she transfers to the people who are really brave, and she discovers that there's like this underlying plot to destroy the society or like take over the society. It's a little bit like the Hunger Games, but sort of not as, I don't know, not as like put a bunch of kids into a battle royale situation.
Yeah, do you think it's targeted more an adult market, or is it still very much the sort of teenager market it's aiming for, young adults?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be aimed at young adults. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, what do you think of TV and film adaptations in general? I mean, I know we've got Robbie on as a guest this week, who, for any of you know who's read his things on the website, he was massive Game of Thrones fan. He did all our Game of Thrones reviews. You know, it's obviously coming off these books, and I know that there's a lot of people. I know, Robbie, you said you hadn't read the books.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you feel as if it's these kind of shows that are, you know, huge, big sort of fantasy books coming on to TV and film? I mean, do you think that's kind of the right direction? I mean, are TV creators just getting lazy, you know, and that's why they're pulling all this stuff from novels?
I would say it's a direction to take for now. I think it seems to be definitely what everybody's buying into. I mean, the Hunger Games already. I think Harry Potter, obviously, you saw how successful that was. But the Game of Thrones, I mean, yeah, I mean, definitely my favourite show by a mile, and I go out my way not to read the books mainly so I can enjoy it as a TV show as such. And I think when the day comes when it ends, I'll go back and actually read them so I can enjoy them both ways.
Yeah. I think that the TV adaptations tend to be a lot better than the movie adaptations just because they get more time. I mean, the Game of Thrones novels are huge. If they were to try and do just a movie of one of the books, it would be awful. It would be absolutely awful. So I think the TV shows that are adapted from books are a lot better in general than the movies, just because they can give more time to the plot and the characters.
That's right. I remember I read are you familiar with Percy Jackson?
Yeah, I read those books this year.
Yeah, I read the Percy Jackson books before the films came out, and I quite enjoyed the books. I thought they were pretty good. And, you know, even though I'm slightly too old for where it's aimed at, I enjoyed the books, but I really didn't like the films. I think there's been 2 now. Didn't enjoy either of them. I didn't think it quite worked.
Yeah. Well, the books are, I mean, when you read the books, they're the type of novel that are really hard to adapt to the screen because they're kind of all over the place. They have a lot of short scenes that are really important, but then they also have like that overarching storyline that ties all the books together, which they didn't even touch on in the first movie, and then they had to bring it in the second movie in order to like make it tie in with the first one. I don't think that series was done well, and I don't think they're going to continue it either.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare now when films that aren't adapted in some way, either before or after, into a book. I mean, I don't know about yourselves, but I've quite often walked into a bookstore and saw, you know, a film that's recently been released. There's now a book version, and the book has only been written because of the film, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very rare now to find a film that's not in some way linked to a book. I mean, I think it's great. I love the fact that it's, you know, getting people into reading. I think that's always a good thing. But you know, it does worry me slightly that perhaps they aren't as creative as they used to be. Some of the writers or producers. It slightly concerns me that there's just 1 or 2 too many adaptations now. I'm not sure it really sits right with me.
Yeah. No, have you guys heard of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries? It's a YouTube series based on Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.
No, I've never heard that. Is it good?
Yeah, it's good. It's like it's 100 episodes of like these 6 to 10 minute things. It's good. It was really huge in the U.S., but they're releasing a book. So it's a book based on a web series based on a book.
Wow.
Yeah, that's troubling to me too.
Is that coming this year?
Yeah, it's coming out in July.
Oh, that'll be interesting. Who's starring in it? Any idea?
Well, the web series was a bunch of unknown people because the way that they launched it, it's like a video diary, and it was like people weren't sure if it was just some girl doing like this weird video diary, but it turned out that it's like a whole production team. They're currently running a new web series called Emma Approved, which is based on Emma.
Yeah, so I think, with that coming next year, I'm now going to put you each on the spot with a couple of questions regarding adaptations. We have Stuart. I'm going to come to you and ask you to name your favourite comic book / superhero film that hasn't been adapted from a comic book. If that makes sense.
A comic book film?
Well, sort of like a superhero film that hasn't been adapted from comic books.
I can't think of any superhero films that aren't comic books. I'm thinking maybe... No, the only one I can think of is Hancock, and that was terrible.
Is that the Will Smith thing?
Yeah, that was the Will Smith one. I thought, just because of the nature of it, it's not really they tend to just take the character and go elsewhere because it's got notability.
Is there some of them that go the other way? For instance, they make a superhero film and then they base comics on it. If you see what I mean. Was Kick-Ass? Was Kick-Ass always a...
No, Kick-Ass was a comic book first.
Yeah,
that's written by a Glaswegian guy. They tend to just go. They don't really go the other way. I've seen like comic books of characters of like that they've made a film out of like that aren't superheroes. So like I've seen like Star Wars comic books and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a comic book written about a film a superhero film.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm afraid I won't be able to answer that one.
That's fine. Robbie, I'm going to come to you and ask you what your favourite TV adaptation is from a book.
Favourite TV adaptation? I want to say something that isn't Game of Thrones because it's too easy to say that. Come back to me on that one actually. I'll try and think it over.
Okay, you have a think, and while we're doing that, Molly will fill us in on her favourite book that hasn't been adapted to TV or film, and that you think would work quite well.
Oh God. I mean, I recently I've been reading a lot of... Well, okay. The Selection is a novel. It's a young adult novel, sort of part of the post-apocalyptic genre that spawned after the Hunger Games made it big. They did a pilot for it last season, but it never got picked up for a series. So I would love for that pilot to get picked up for a series.
Do you think it would make quite a good show?
Yeah, it's the premise of the novel is sort of like a Bachelorette set in a post-apocalyptic like country version of the US, and I think it would be perfect for TV. Like it sort of has that reality TV aspect to it, but also like the Hunger Games type of thing. I think it would be perfect, and I don't know why it didn't get picked up.
Okay. And Robbie, have you thought of one yet?
I mean, I know that Justified and Dexter were both TV adaptations originally. And,
were they?
yeah, originally it was Darkly Dreaming Dexter, and I think Justified was based on something called One Under the Watering Hole or something like that. I can't remember specifically. But in terms of books that have actually been adapted, I'd probably just stick with Game of Thrones because I think there's actually quite a lot there that's probably there for the taking, to be perfectly honest. I've always wanted something like Brown and God Little to be adapted. I always enjoyed that book when I was younger. I don't know if you ever read that.
No, I've never read that.
Yeah, it's quite slim pickings actually, to be fair. At least for the one.
Okie doke. On that note, I think we're done here. The one thing I want to ask you guys first of all, and to explain to our listeners from our previous podcast, what we've been doing is our theme music intro for every podcast we base on something we've been talking about that episode. So, is there a theme tune that you want as the opening for this? Pick us a theme tune, Molly.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
I think that's the obvious one.
Yeah, I was thinking Game of Thrones as well.
Yeah, it's a great intro, isn't it? Do you know what? It's one of those introductions that when you're watching it as well, because am I right in thinking it actually every season it moves story on screen as well? Like you get a different piece of the map.
It changes like maybe every 3 or 4 episodes, give or take. So yeah, and I always end up watching it all the way through, like put up my credit just to see like what changes they are, regardless.
There we go. Settled in. We will have Game of Thrones as the introduction to this week's podcast. On a final note, I just want to ask our listeners to follow us on Twitter at TV and Film Review, on Facebook at facebook.com/TV and Film Review, Google Plus, you can find us at Plus TV and Film Review. I think you're getting the gist by now, and subscribe to our YouTube channel by searching for TV and Film Reviews. I want to thank once again our contributors this week. So give us a shout out to your own Twitter addresses. We've got Robbie.
Hi, thanks for having me, guys.
And your Twitter, Robbie?
RobbieCool89.
And thanks to Stuart.
Forehead7. Thank you for having me.
I love it. And finally, from New York, Molly.
Okay, it's at Molly Rocket, ROCKIT, and it's been fun.
Yes, and I've been Dave McGregor at Dave McGregor84, and we will see you next week.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.